Captain James Miller stood at the observation deck of Luna Base 1, his eyes fixed on the blue marble of Earth hanging in the black void of space. 20 years of service in the Earth Defense Force hadn't prepared him for this moment. No one was prepared for this. They came without warning. First, there was a flash of light near Jupiter's orbit, a ripple in space itself. Then another, and another. Soon, 50 massive ships emerged, each one larger than anything humanity had ever built. Their hulls gleamed with a metallic purple sheen that seemed to absorb nearby starlight. Captain Miller to command. He spoke into his comm unit, his voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. Multiple contacts confirmed. Size estimates are, well, sir, they're bigger than anything in our databases. The response came quickly. Confirmed, Captain. All Earth defense stations are tracking them. Hold position and continue observation. Miller watched as the alien fleet moved with perfect precision, their formation unchanged as they crossed the space between Jupiter and Mars in near hours. Technology that advanced could only mean one thing. Humanity was about to meet a civilization far beyond their own capabilities. The first transmission came as the fleet reached Mars orbit. Every screen, every device, every communications channel on Earth and Luna Base received the same message. The universal translators worked overtime, converting the alien language into Earth's major languages. To the governing bodies of Sol 3, designated as Earth in local vernacular, you are hereby notified of your impending integration into the Imperial domains. The Empire spans 10,000 systems. Resistance is not advised. Prepare your leaders for formal submission proceedings. Miller watched as smaller ships detached from the fleet, each one still larger than Earth's biggest vessels. They took up positions around Earth's orbit, a clear display of power. His hands gripped the railing of the observation deck tighter. They're not even trying to hide their intentions, Lieutenant Adams said, joining Miller at the window. No diplomatic niceties, no attempts at peaceful first contact, just straight to demands. Miller nodded. Because they don't think they need to. Look at those ships, Tom. One of them could probably take out half our defense fleet. The next few hours were a blur of activity. Emergency meetings were called in every major capital. The United Nations convened a special session. Military forces worldwide went to high alert, though everyone knew their weapons would be useless against vessels of that size and technological advancement. Then came the second transmission. This time, it was a live feed. The being that appeared on screens worldwide looked almost human-like, but with skin that seemed to shift colors like oil on water. Its eyes were entirely black, and when it spoke, its voice carried the weight of absolute authority. Your species has achieved sufficient technological advancement to be of use to the Empire. Your integration will proceed as follows. All existing governments will be dissolved. Imperial governors will be installed. 20% of your population will be relocated to Imperial labor worlds. Resistance will result in immediate disciplinary action. Miller felt his blood run cold. 20%. They were talking about relocating over 1 billion people to alien worlds, slave worlds, most likely. Sir, a young officer called from the communication station. We're getting reports. The Chinese fleet is moving. The Americans too, and the Europeans. They're all mobilizing. Miller watched as Earth's combined defense forces began to take up positions. It was futile, probably suicidal, but they were moving anyway. Humanity's first instinct wasn't to bow, it was to stand. Well, Miller said, straightening his uniform, if this is how first contact goes, let's make sure the history books remember we didn't go quietly. He turned to his crew. Battle stations. If they want Earth, they're going to have to fight for it. As klaxons began to sound throughout Luna Base 1, Miller took one last look at Earth. Whatever happened next would change human history forever. The age of Earth's isolation was over, but humanity wasn't about to surrender its freedom without a fight. The Empire was about to learn that some species don't bow, no matter the odds. The United Nations building in New York had never been so crowded. Security teams swept the halls every hour, checking for any signs of imperial surveillance. Outside, millions of people gathered in the streets, their eyes fixed on the massive screens showing the emergency session inside. John Parker, the UN Secretary General, stood at the podium, his face grave. Above the building, through the reinforced glass ceiling, one of the imperial ships hung in the sky like a dark cloud. Its presence was a constant reminder of the choice humanity faced. "We have 24 hours, Parker said, his voice echoing through the chamber. "The Empire demands our answer by then. Each nation must cast its vote. Surrender or fight." The Russian representative spoke first. "Their ships can destroy our cities from orbit. How can we even consider fighting? Better to die on our feet than live on our knees," the Nigerian representative countered, pounding his fist on the table. "We've seen the data from their other conquered worlds. Slavery, forced labor, mass relocations. Is that what we want for our children?" The debate raged for hours. Military advisors presented their analyses. Humanity's chances were less than 10%. Economic experts warned of total collapse if they resisted. Health officials predicted billions could die in a war with the Empire. Then something unexpected happened. A woman walked into the chamber. She wasn't supposed to be there. Security protocols had been strict, but no one stopped her as she approached the podium. Everyone recognized her. Dr. Anna White, the lead scientist who had decoded the Imperial ship's data transmissions. "I have something you need to see," she said, connecting her tablet to the main screen. "We intercepted this transmission an hour ago." The screen showed images from other worlds the Empire had integrated. Cities reduced to labor camps. Entire populations tagged with control chips. Children separated from parents to be re-educated in Imperial schools. Species after species, planet after planet, all turned into nothing more than resources for the Empire to use. "This isn't just about us," Dr. White said, her voice shaking. "If Earth falls easily, it tells every other world out there that resistance is pointless. But if we fight, even if we lose, we show the galaxy that freedom is worth fighting for." The chamber fell silent. The Brazilian representative stood up slowly. "I call for an immediate vote." One by one, the nations cast their votes. Some hands shook as they were raised. Some voices cracked as they spoke. But as the votes were counted, a pattern emerged. "The results are final," Parker announced, standing straighter than before. "By a vote of 193-0, the nations of Earth choose to fight." The chamber erupted in a mix of cheers and nervous murmurs. Outside, the crowds began to sing, different songs in different languages, but all with the same spirit of defiance. In orbit, Captain Miller received the news on Luna Base 1. He watched as the Imperial ships adjusted their positions, probably preparing for what they thought would be a quick and easy conquest. "Send the message," Parker commanded. The transmission was short. "Earth declines integration. We choose freedom." The response came immediately. The Imperial ship above New York lit up with a purple glow. Its message boomed through every speaker and device. "You have chosen death. The Empire will make an example of your world." Parker looked up at the ship, then back at the assembly. "So be it, but we will show them something they've never seen before. An entire planet that refuses to bow." As the sun set over New York, humanity prepared for war. In secret bases and hidden facilities around the world, plans long held in reserve began to activate. The Empire thought they were dealing with a primitive, divided species. They were about to learn how wrong they were. The vote was cast. The die was set, and humanity would fight as one. Deep in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter, something impossible was happening. Rocks that seemed normal were splitting apart. Inside each one was a warship, hidden from the universe for decades. Admiral Thomas Ray watched from the bridge of his flagship, the EDF Titan, as more vessels emerged from their hiding places. The ships were black as space itself, their hulls covered in panels that bent light around them. Each one carried weapons that no one on Earth was supposed to have. "Status report," he ordered, his voice firm but quiet. 200 ships activated, sir, replied his second-in-command, Jack West. Another 100 still emerging. All crews report ready. The admiral nodded. For 30 years, Earth's nations had worked in total secret. They had found a crashed alien scout ship in the Arctic in 2085. Instead of fighting over it, world leaders had made an unusual choice. They kept it hidden and worked together. "Launch the drones," Ray ordered. Small robot ships flew out from the fleet. They would watch the Imperial ships and send back information about their movements. The Empire thought Earth was defenseless. They were wrong. In his private cabin, Ray looked at an old photo. It showed him as a young officer, standing next to the crashed alien ship. That day had changed everything. Earth had learned it wasn't alone in the universe, and that it needed to be ready. "Admiral," West called over the comm. "Message from Earth Command. The Empire has started moving their ships into attack position." Ray put the photo away and walked back to the bridge. On the main screen, he could see the Imperial fleet spreading out around Earth. They were preparing to demonstrate their power, probably planning to destroy a few cities as punishment for Earth's defiance. "How many ships do they have near Earth?" Ray asked. 50 capital ships, sir. About 200 smaller vessels." Ray smiled slightly. The Empire had sent what they thought was an overwhelming force. But they had made a mistake. They had underestimated humanity. "Send the order to all ships," Ray said. "Power up weapons. Load the special missiles." Those missiles were Earth's secret weapon. Using technology from the crashed ship, scientists had created warheads that could disrupt Imperial shields. The Empire didn't know their defenses had been compromised. Throughout the fleet, crews prepared for battle. These weren't normal space crews. Each person had trained for years in secret, preparing for this moment. They knew how to use the advanced technology, how to fight against Imperial tactics. "Sir," West reported, "Imperial ships are powering up their main weapons. They're targeting major cities." Ray stood up from his command chair. "Signal all ships. Execute Operation First Strike. Let's show them what humanity can do." The hidden fleet began to move. Their engines, based on Imperial technology, pushed them faster than any normal Earth ship could go. They would reach Earth in hours instead of months. "Message from Earth Command," West said. It says, "Give them hell." Ray looked at the tactical display. 300 of humanity's best ships, crews trained to fight an enemy that thought they were helpless. The Empire was about to learn a hard lesson. "All ships, battle formations," Ray commanded. "Today we fight not just for Earth, but for every world that suffered under Imperial rule. Today we show the galaxy that humanity doesn't bow to tyrants." The fleet accelerated, moving as one. Behind them, the asteroid belt looked empty again, its secrets revealed. Ahead lay Earth, and an enemy that had no idea what was coming. The real war was about to begin. The Imperial ships never saw the attack coming. They were too busy preparing to punish Earth, their weapons charging to destroy major cities. They didn't expect any resistance. They didn't expect anything at all. Earth's hidden fleet dropped out of high speed just behind Mars. Admiral Ray's voice was calm as he gave the order. "Launch first wave. Let's introduce ourselves." 1,000 small fighters shot out from Earth's ships. They were tiny compared to the Imperial vessels, but they carried a surprise. Each one held special missiles designed to confuse Imperial sensors. "Enemy ships detecting our presence," West reported from his station. "They're turning to face us." The Imperial commander's voice boomed across all channels. "Primitive vessels detected. Prepare to witness the consequences of your defiance." Admiral Ray smiled. "Send them our response." The fighters split into groups of 3. They moved in patterns that looked random but were carefully planned. The Imperial ships fired their weapons, huge beams of purple energy that could cut through normal ships easily. But Earth's fighters weren't normal ships. They dodged the beams, moving faster than the Imperial gunners could track. Years of studying the crashed alien ship had taught humanity how Imperial weapons worked. "First wave in position," West announced. "Ready to launch countermeasures." "Do it," Ray ordered. The fighters released their special cargo. Thousands of small devices filled space around the Imperial ships. Each one started broadcasting signals that matched Imperial communications. Confusion spread through the enemy fleet. Their sensors couldn't tell which signals were real and which were fake. Their perfect formation began to break. "Main fleet, move in," Ray commanded. "Target their command ships first." Earth's larger ships moved forward. They looked small compared to the Imperial vessels, but they carried weapons that no one expected them to have. Beams of concentrated energy shot out, hitting Imperial shields in exactly the right spots. "Direct hits on 3 enemy capital ships," West reported. "Their shields are failing." The Imperial fleet tried to regroup, but Earth's ships were too quick. They darted between the larger vessels, hitting weak points, then moving away before the Empire could respond. "Enemy fleet is splitting up," someone called out. "They're trying to protect their flagship." Ray watched the battle on his screen. The Empire's ships were more powerful, but they were fighting the wrong way. They were used to enemies who fought straight on, who tried to match power with power. But humanity had studied guerrilla warfare for centuries. "Launch second wave," Ray ordered. "Target their engines." More fighters shot out from Earth's fleet. They carried different weapons this time, missiles that could pass through Imperial shields by matching their frequency. The Empire didn't know that humanity had learned their secrets from that crashed ship. The Imperial commander's voice came again, but this time it wasn't so confident. How are you doing this? You're supposed to be primitives." "Message from Earth Command," West said with a smile. "They're watching the battle. Every major city is celebrating." The fight wasn't over. The Empire still had more ships, more power, but they had lost their aura of invincibility. 3 of their biggest ships were crippled, their shields broken, their weapons silent. "All ships, press the attack," Ray commanded. "Show them what happens when they threaten our world." The battle continued, Earth's ships dancing between Imperial vessels, like wasps attacking a bear. They couldn't destroy the whole fleet, but they didn't need to. They just needed to prove one thing. Humanity would not be an easy conquest. The Empire had started this fight expecting to punish a primitive world. Instead, they were learning a painful lesson. Never underestimate humans. The Empire's response came 3 days after their first defeat. Space itself seemed to tear open as 1,000 Imperial warships appeared near Saturn. This wasn't just a punishment fleet. This was the Empire's main battle force. Lieutenant Mary Cooper watched the sensor readings from her station on the EDF Titan. "Admiral, I'm picking up energy readings bigger than anything we've seen before." Admiral Ray stood at the bridge window, his face reflected in the glass. Behind him, the crew worked quietly, each person knowing what these readings meant. The real war had begun. "How many civilians have we evacuated to the underground shelters?" Ray asked. 80% of Earth's population is now underground," West replied. "The rest are moving as fast as they can." The Imperial fleet moved with purpose this time. They weren't underestimating Earth anymore. Their ships spread out in attack formations that left no escape routes. "Message from the Imperial commander," a communications officer called out. "They're broadcasting on all frequencies." A deep voice filled the bridge. "You have embarrassed the Empire. For this, your world will burn. Surrender now, and we might let some of your species survive as slaves." Lieutenant Cooper suddenly stood up from her station. "Admiral, I need to show you something." She pulled up a detailed scan of the Imperial ships on the main screen. "Look at their shield configurations. They've changed something." Ray walked closer to the screen. Cooper pointed to specific energy patterns. They'd strengthened their shields, but there's a new weakness. They're drawing more power than before. If we hit them here and here, she pointed to 2 spots, we could cause their whole power system to overload. Can you modify our weapons to target those points? Ray asked. Cooper nodded. Give me 2 hours. You have 1, Ray replied. That's all the time we can spare. The bridge burst into activity. Cooper ran to the weapons control room while other officers transmitted her findings to the rest of Earth's fleet. They had hidden bases throughout the solar system, inside asteroids, on moons, even in the clouds of Jupiter. Each base held ships ready to fight. Enemy fleet launching fighters, West reported. Thousands of them. Ray pressed a button on his chair. All ships, execute Plan Delta. Remember your training. Fight smart, not fair. Earth's fleet broke into small groups. They used tactics that would have seemed crazy against any normal enemy. Hiding behind moons, using planets' gravity to increase speed, appearing and disappearing between asteroid fields. In the weapons room, Cooper worked faster than she ever had before. Adjusting targeting frequencies, she muttered, compensating for power fluctuations. The first attacks hit Earth's outer defenses. Imperial ships destroyed automated defense platforms with single shots. They were being thorough this time, taking no chances. Cooper to bridge, her voice came over the comm. Weapons modifications ready, transmitting to all ships now. Ray nodded. All ships prepare to engage. Remember, we're not just fighting for Earth now. We're fighting for every world that ever resisted the Empire. The battle that followed would be remembered for centuries. Earth's ships darted between Imperial vessels, hitting them at their weak points. Some Imperial ships exploded when their power systems overloaded. Others lost control, crashing into each other. But the Empire's numbers were overwhelming. For every Imperial ship destroyed, Earth lost 2 or 3. The space around Saturn filled with burning wreckage. We can't beat them straight on, West said, watching another Earth ship explode. We don't need to, Ray replied. We just need to make them bleed enough to remember us, to show everyone in the galaxy that the Empire can be fought. The battle raged on, humanity fighting with everything they had against an enemy that wanted to crush them completely. The Empire had brought their fury to Earth, but they were learning a hard lesson. Sometimes the hardest enemy to beat is the one with nothing left to lose. Captain Robert Wilson stood on the bridge of the stealth ship EDF Shadow, watching an alien world through the view screen. The planet's 3 moons cast strange shadows on its purple oceans. This was the 10th world they'd visited in 2 weeks. Sir, his pilot said quietly, we're picking up the resistance signal. Wilson nodded. News of Earth's fight had spread through the Empire like wildfire. Every conquered world had heard how a primitive planet had bloodied the Empire's nose. Now, resistance movements were reaching out. Take us down, Wilson ordered. Keep the stealth systems at maximum. The shadow descended through the atmosphere, invisible to Imperial sensors. They landed in a massive forest where the trees had blue bark and silver leaves. As soon as they landed, figures emerged from hiding. The aliens called themselves the Firstborn. They were tall, with 4 arms and skin that looked like polished copper. They had ruled 30 systems before the Empire conquered them a century ago. You are the humans, their leader asked. His translator made his voice sound rough. The ones who fight. Wilson stepped forward. We are. And we come with an offer. Inside the shadow, Wilson showed them videos of Earth's battles. The Firstborn watched with all 4 hands clenched into fists. They saw how Earth's smaller ships had defeated Imperial vessels, how Lieutenant Cooper had found weaknesses in Imperial shields. We have fought them for 100 years, the Firstborn leader said, but we never found these weaknesses. Then let us help you, Wilson replied. Earth cannot beat the Empire alone, but together. More aliens arrived as they talked. Species that had been enemies under Imperial rule now sat together, sharing information. One group had discovered how to jam Imperial communications. Another had stolen plans for advanced weapons. The Empire keeps us divided, Wilson explained. They make us fight each other so we can't fight them. But that ends today. A message arrived from Earth Command. Admiral Ray's face appeared on the screen, looking tired but determined. Captain, we've received similar responses from 20 other worlds. The Empire is facing revolts on a dozen planets already. The firstborn leader stepped forward. My people will fight. We have hidden shipyards, secret armies. Tell us what you need. Wilson brought up a map of Imperial space. We need to coordinate. When we strike together. No more isolated rebellions that can be crushed one by one. They worked through the night. Each species brought something different. The firstborn had powerful ships hidden in asteroid fields. Another race, the Crystal Mines, had developed advanced computer viruses. A third group had spies throughout the Imperial fleet. The Empire thinks they broke us, the Crystal Mind Elder said, her crystalline body glowing with emotion. They think we are tamed. We will show them otherwise. Wilson sent the battle plans back to Earth. Admiral Ray would coordinate the largest rebellion in Imperial history. Earth would lead the fight, not because they were strongest, but because they had given everyone hope. The Empire calls Earth primitive, Wilson told the gathered aliens. They think being young makes us weak. But we have something they lost long ago. The fire of freedom. The will to fight even when victory seems impossible. The alliance was formed that day in a forest with blue trees under 3 moons. Species that had hated each other for centuries shook hands, clasped tentacles, or touched crystals in agreement. The Empire had ruled through fear and division for too long. Send word to your people, Wilson said as the meeting ended. In 3 days, we show the Empire that the age of tyranny is over. As the shadow lifted off, signals were already spreading across Imperial space. The message was simple. Earth had shown the way. Freedom was possible. The time to rise had come. Jupiter's massive red storm provided the perfect backdrop for the greatest space battle in history. 3,000 ships gathered there, Earth vessels mixed with alien craft of all shapes and sizes. Each one represented a species that had decided to fight back. Admiral Ray stood on the Titan's bridge, looking at the combined fleet. The firstborn's golden ships floated next to Earth's black vessels. The Crystal Mine's transparent craft glowed with internal light. Every ship was in position, waiting for the signal. Enemy fleet detected, West announced. 5,000 Imperial ships approaching. The Emperor himself is leading them. This was it. The Empire had gathered almost its entire fleet for one final battle to crush the rebellion. They didn't know about the surprises waiting for them. All ships, battle positions, Ray ordered. Lieutenant Cooper, is the new weapon ready? Cooper nodded from her station. She had worked with scientists from 20 different species to create something new. A device that could turn the Empire's shield technology against them. Send the signal, Ray commanded. Let's make history. The battle began with a massive Imperial barrage. Purple energy beams cut through space, but the Allied fleet was ready. They split apart in a move they had practiced for days, letting the Imperial attacks pass harmlessly between their ships. First wave, attack, Ray ordered. Earth's fighters led the charge, followed by firstborn warriors and Crystal Mine strike craft. They hit the Imperial lines from 3 directions at once. Cooper's new weapon worked perfectly. Imperial shields collapsed, leaving their ships vulnerable. Enemy fleet responding, West reported. They're trying to surround us. But this time, the Empire's usual tactics didn't work. Every time they tried to trap part of the Allied fleet, ships would emerge from hiding spots in Jupiter's moons. The gas giant's gravity helped the smaller ships move in ways the Imperial vessels couldn't match. Multiple Imperial ships destroyed, someone called out. Their formation is breaking. On the Imperial command ship, the Emperor watched in rage as his perfect fleet fell into chaos. His warriors had never faced an enemy that fought like this, multiple species working together, each using their unique strengths. The battle moved into Jupiter's ring system. Ice and rocks provided cover for Allied ships while causing problems for the larger Imperial vessels. Earth's experience fighting in the asteroid belt proved valuable as they taught their allies how to use natural cover. Imperial command ship is moving forward, West said. They're trying to rally their forces. Ray smiled. This was what they had waited for. Signal the crystal mines. Begin Phase 2. Suddenly, Imperial ships started firing on each other. The crystal mines computer viruses, planted by spies months ago, had activated. The Empire's own weapons turned against them. All ships, focus fire on the command ship, Ray ordered. Let's end this. The Allied fleet converged on the Emperor's vessel. It was massive, bigger than any other ship in space, but now it was alone. Its escorts were either destroyed or fighting each other. Cooper's voice rang out, "Sir, the Emperor is sending a transmission." The Emperor's image appeared on every screen in the fleet. His color-shifting skin was pale with rage. "What do you want? Name your price to end this." Ray stood tall. "Freedom. Not just for Earth, but for every world you've enslaved. End the Empire's rule, or we end it for you." There was a long pause. The Emperor looked at reports of his dying empire. Rebellions had broken out on hundreds of worlds. His fleet was in ruins, and here, above Jupiter, his last great armada was being destroyed by species he had thought broken and tamed. "The Empire," the Emperor said slowly, "accepts your terms." Cheers erupted throughout the Allied fleet. Ships flashed their lights in celebration. Earth had done what no one thought possible. They had helped break an empire that had ruled for 10,000 years. Ray looked out at Jupiter's swirling clouds. "Send word to Earth," he said quietly. "Tell them we kept our promise. We didn't bow, and we never will." The battle ended as the sun rose over Earth. The empire that had threatened to enslave humanity had been defeated not just by Earth's weapons, but by the hope they had given to others. The age of imperial rule was over. Humanity had arrived on the galactic stage, not as conquerors or slaves, but as liberators. The species that had fought together would remain allies, building something new from the ashes of empire, a future where no one would have to bow to tyranny again.